Hey guys, it's Simon with ToughTrader.com. Wanted to do a quick trade review and discuss what our strategy was for the day, how we executed the strategy, and how that strategy played out through the balance of the day, right? Let's jump right into it. So first of all, we were gapping across the board. This is ES this morning. You can see that we were gapping, not out of range, but we were gapping up relative to the close. And this is the Russell 2000 again, gapping up again away from the close, and then finally NQ, which had a very good gap in the morning. Again, all three of these were similar. So the first thing that we wanted to examine was that if we were gapping up, right, we put our trade plan to work, right, which is on gap ups. We don't want to be strong faders, particularly what we saw this morning. And the reason why we didn't want to fade is I'm gonna go over to our other computer. So I'm going to share the screen from my other computer here. And what you'll see here, this is the NASDAQ. And what you'll see, the blue area is the prior day's value area. Most people are probably more accustomed to looking at something like this, right? So we gapped above prior day's value area, and very, very straightforward TPO trading. When value areas do not overlap, you are very likely to push out and away from the prior value area in the direction of the gap, right? So number one, we knew NASDAQ, especially after the first half hour of the day, did not overlap value, had a very good chance of pushing out, and we still have a pretty good chance, in my opinion, of closing near or at the high of the day. So that was the first piece. And secondly, you'll notice that because we opened up above value, we did not want to be short unless we could get below the prior day's volume build or value area, whatever you'd like to call it. So the strategy there was to use the first pullback to get long. That's where you switch back over and use here is NQ. And so our first long this morning, so we opened up above the support, and the idea was, in order to gain you have to incorporate the size of the rotation into your calculation as to where you're going to take the trade. And of course, the risk was early on was that you'd get pushed into gap fill, but we did take specifically we got long the 62.38 back here at the very back of the zone, 10-point stop. Target was back towards Monday's high. We got a clear 10-point trade to the upside. Several people in the room caught that move. Very nice, profitable trade. And pretty much that completed our first round, right? But if you go and look, our next location was basically the value area high, which was encompassed by this 62.30 area, right? And there's no zone here because this was only valid for us if we had gapped up and we pushed down back to test. We really didn't want to be short in this direction, but we did want to be long in this direction for the push back up. So when we came into value area high, which again, going back to the chart, which is right over here, that means you're pushing into the top of this blue build over here to the left. Given the structure of the market, right, we wanted to be long for a push out and away to new highs. And so we use this as our second entry. Again, I targeted back into 62.38 and 62.42, and then the plan was to simply leave trailers for a push to the upside. And you can see from that 62.30, we rolled all the way up to 62.60. That's a normal 30-point rotation in NQ. And again, that gave us a 2-to-1 risk reward from both of these locations, either a 1-to-1 risk reward or a 2-to-1 risk reward that was available. Actually, more than that. This is a 10-point stop as well. So it's actually a 3-to-1 risk reward potentially in this trade. And it was certainly a 1-to-1 in that first location that we took early this morning, right? Again, you can see the inability to close the gap was the big clue there, that shorts and or those fearing the FOMO move were going to get caught and pushed out, and that's exactly what happened. You have to know this is the setup on this particular day and know that we're very likely to push out. Otherwise, you start scrambling trying to figure out whether we're going to fill the gap or not. We didn't fill the gap immediately. It's highly unlikely that we would have filled the gap after that. Okay, so now going to ES, that's NASDAQ. If we go look at ES, we had a bit different picture on ES coming in the morning. We did have the gap up, but what was the hang up on ES this morning, if I can find it, 1562, I can tell by the numbers. And there's my ES chart right there. Okay, so let's get rid of all this. Okay, so, and then let's put this back so that's the way most people recognize how the structure goes. So if you look, we had two challenges. We had value below in the morning and we had value above us, right? So we kind of ended up, see how we ended up ping-ponging between the 2 points? Your best shot was going to be to get the market to push up to 2578, 2580 area, right? So when you look at this, I don't want to really be short unless I'm underneath this volume build, because this is going to absorb or require pushing through a lot of effort and energy in order to get underneath this volume build. And you can see that we absorbed all of that on that push down into the point of control. This is called a TPO versus a volume point of control. And it was going to just simply take a lot of energy to push through. The natural target would have been to the upside at 2578. It obviously never reached there, or these single prints that are sitting right up here. But this area in general from 2580 to 2576 was the upside target, right? So if you go look at how we had the chart structured versus that TPO, right? Because in order to be able to trade that, you have to have a location from which you can launch the trade. So this morning we gapped. You can see that we never achieved the gap fill on the market. We closed down here near 2568. We gapped up, and this was the white zone, and you can see we structured it. Shorts don't want it above 72.50, right? Obviously, it pushed right to 72.50. We gapped up, and since we were coming in from above, from the support area, with the objective being to push towards 25.77, when this pushed down, notice that it went one tick behind the back of the zone, and then pushed out very logically all the way up to 25.75 and 3/4. And then it just simply couldn't make it past Globex high. Again, to me, this isn't short unless we can get underneath at this point, really underneath Globex low at this point. That's and actually make an impulse move below and hold below here. It's simply not short for me, right? And you can also tell, look how the behavior changed between NASDAQ, right? So here's the behavior on NASDAQ. It has really no resistance sitting above, right? Versus ES that does have resistance sitting above. So even though it stretched out of this location, and that was a great trade from 2569, it stretched all the way to 2575. That's 6 points in this market. That's pretty good extension on ES, right? Again, you had to have the read that we were holding above the prior day's close, had failed to close the gap early in the day, and it was likely to push out. And then finally, if you look at the Russell was a little bit different picture. What triggered on Russell is, if you look, yesterday was the biggest down day. Let me move this. Yesterday was the biggest down day in over a month. We obviously had heavy sell pressure, but we gapped up, and we gapped up over the afternoon swing highs here to the left and well above the close, obviously, right? And usually when you get a big push like this, you're going to exhaust in a bull market. You're going to exhaust the sellers on what is essentially was almost a trend day down. They reversed it right there at the last hour, right? So when you look at the open up again, the first question is, can we make a push to fill the gap? Unable to do so. You can see they tried 2 times now. This was a white zone. As soon as we identified that we had opened up again, when you're combining 2 different or 3 different methodologies, right? But when you come back and look at the Russell index, it really behaved very, very well. This is the Russell index here. And you can see we gapped up. We failed to close the gap. We did overlap value a little bit, but we still failed to push in beyond these single prints off the open, right? We came in and the idea would have been that we would have rejected off these single prints. Instead, we used the single prints to act as support. And then the logical location was to come up to the volume build that was up here near 1508. So when we failed to hold, so look how we put that piece together. Again, the idea is to have an understanding that we gapped up. We had a big down day. We were at a resistance point, but we had really kind of pushed at the open, and we couldn't get any swift rejection out of this location. Even if you had shorted off the open, the back of the white zone, yes, you had a little bit of money that could have been made there, but there simply was no quick give, particularly relative to the prior day's rotations. And this last bar here pushed really hard to get lower, and this came right into the half gap, right? Unable to push beyond. We finally close above this zone for the second time, quick backside test, and then continuation all the way up to target, which was that 1506, essentially 1507, right? So that's how the day kind of came together for us. Oil, again, consolidating, complete bull market there to the upside. You can see there that we held. This is essentially the 8 a.m. open. We rejected against the white zone multiple times, finally closed and consolidated above, and all the shorts got squeezed out. I don't have a good reason for being short CL right now. And then my target up on bonds is this 153 to 153 in 11:30 seconds. And it simply isn't, it simply has not accomplished that yet, but not far. I figure we're going to try and push up into this at some point. And that's pretty much how our day went. We pretty much grabbed the longs out of the open and pushed as hard as we could to the upside across the board. So great day. Everyone in the room had made good money. I don't think anyone in the room has sent me any questions. When everyone makes money, everyone's pretty happy, generally speaking. So anyways, I will talk to y'all later. Have a great day, guys.